to multimedia course, creative multimedia. And as I mentioned before in our previous class, me and you today, we are going to start with learning everything you need to know about Adobe Photoshop. And actually, you don't have, or you don't need to have any previous knowledge in Adobe Photoshop because it's up for absolute beginners. I'm going to start with the fundamental of Adobe Photoshop. Now, the best way to actually explain about any software, not only Adobe Photoshop, is by taking real examples, not only browsing the features here and there, the around the software itself. So what we are going to do through this course is we are going to have real examples to start with Adobe Photoshop. And the main purpose actually for learning Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Premiere later on when we finish the video part is to create your own assignment for this course. So you are required after this course to create assignment 1 by using Adobe Photoshop, okay? So what you are going to learn in this course is first to get familiar with Adobe Photoshop interface, master layers, which is the most important, let's say, feature in Adobe Photoshop, dealing with layers. And then we are going to spend some time with texts, images, to correct how to correct color, adjust colors of the images, and so on. Right? So one more time, the main, let's say, purpose of this course is to create your first assignment, right? Now, I believe some of you might not have Adobe Photoshop installed in your device, whether a laptop or a PC. You can refer to CICT, I think, or UTM Digital. I think, Kimberly, have you emailed UTM Digital about Adobe Photoshop?
Um, yes, doctor, but I haven't got any reply yet.
Oh, all right, all right. I believe because normally we will have Adobe Photoshop installed in the computer lab, but since it's online, I will ask around and I will get back to you. Anyone does have Photoshop in your computer? No one? Okay, do you have any? Okay, Kimberly has it. Okay, Kiroshini doesn't. All right, no problem. Do you guys have any previous knowledge with the software? You can raise the hand if you have used it before. Okay, Kimberly, that's good. Anybody else? Okay, that should be okay. All right, Ibrahim, that's good. Okay, now you don't have to worry about that because I'm going to start with the absolute um, basic knowledge in Adobe Photoshop. Now let's jump into it. I'm going to share my screen. All right. And what I'm going to do is just click in Adobe Photoshop, which is already installed in my device. And this is the interface that you are going to get, right? Very simple and very precise, which is new file, open, new file if you want to open, if you want to create a new project, and then you have open where you want to browse for previous already done projects, and then we have home, learn, where you can get a lot of materials that you can actually get you started, and then we have your files shared with you and so on. So in this course, we are going to start with new file. Okay, now when you click new file, Adobe Photoshop already has a lot of, let's say, saved skills that already have been there for professional uses. For example, if you are a photographer and you have, let's say, images you want to import from your camera or your iPhone, smartphone, whatever, then you can get into a professional skills, all right? Like, for example, this is the default Photoshop size, landscape, 6 by 4, 7 by 5. You will get familiar with it. And then we have print if you want to create something to print like a brochure, A4 page, stuff like that. You just simply click on the any of these skills to get you started with. And then we have art, illustration. If you want to create something related to website or social media, you can get the precise skills, and then mobile, and then film and video. We have a lot of uh, you know like a default standard skills that you just click, and then when the output is going to be the correct skills that you are going to use when you design. All right, now what I am going to do now is just go to art, illustration, sorry, I'm going to print, and then let's go with, let's say, A4 page. All right, just want to show you how this actually works. Now once you click, you will get this page, untitled. Oh, right, A4, create, and then this is the page that I got, which is A4. Now when you create a file inside Adobe Photoshop, it's going to get you the all the information about this page, the resolution, the scales, okay, even the name, because I haven't saved it yet. And here we are going to get a lot of, let's say, extra windows that has something to do with the layers, the colors, the gradient patterns, channels, and so on. We are going to get into that in details, all right, when the time. Uh, okay, now this is untitled, 33%, okay, and this is RGB. Now untitled is the name of this project, and this is the scale where I'm actually showing only 33% of this page. If I zoom in, click, this is 100%. You see here, it is 100%. Now this is where I can get the real measurement of A4 page. Okay, this is the real. Let's say you want to design a cover for your assignment. You can do it here. You can create A4, and then you can start dealing with the measurement. Okay, so now this is only an example of how to deal with measurement and how to select a precise scales for your design. Now let's after we have went through new file, let's go to open, right? And I have a file here. I'm going to share some data with you later on. Let's go to my desktop, and let's just select one of these pictures. Let's go with this one, for example, right? After I click, I just go open. When I select open, all right, this is the image. This is the information about the image, all right? And this is how much is showing from this image. So this is the real size of the image, 100%, okay? And here we have layers. Now, this is the standard, let's say, default windows that open when you open Photoshop. Now, if you don't have these, or you don't have layers, for example, you can simply go to Window and select whatever window you want to open. For example, here, layers. If it's not already open, then you can open it. Now, if you open any file in Adobe Photoshop, you are going to get a default background layer, right? This is the layer, which is eventually locked, all right? So whatever images that you insert in Adobe Photoshop, you are going to get the background layer, which is locked. Locked means I cannot edit unless I open this lock. Okay. Now, I have two options here. One option, the first option is just double click in this image, and then I'm going to convert it into normal layer, which is not actually locked. Okay. Layer 0, the lock icon is gone. I can lock it again if I want, but I'm not interested to, so I'll just leave it like this, or I can go Control Z and it's locked again, right? So this is by default when we have the first layer in Adobe Photoshop. Let's say I want to actually duplicate this layer. I go right click and then duplicate layer. I'm going to have this window where I am, um, let's say I want to name it as layer 1, right? And then okay. Now we notice that we have two layers. Okay, beside every layer, there is a very small icon like an eye. Okay, this one can hide this layer from the other one. How do I know that? Is by, let's say, let's actually create some changes to this layer so that we can know that we have actually did something different, and then we know that this layer is different from the other one. Okay, so if I go to let's say image, right? We have as a photographer, or even if you don't know any background of photography, you can use Adobe Photoshop just to correct some colors automatically. You don't need to be professional, okay? Or you don't need to have a lot of knowledge to do that. It's very simple. You can just click into image, and then you just click, for example, auto tune. Now, when I click auto tune, I can see the difference between these two images. Okay, let's hide this layer now and see the difference. Okay, you can see the difference, guys.
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Right. So this is the important of layers in Adobe Photoshop. When we are talking about Adobe Photoshop, this is number one that needs to, to come into your mind. Dealing with layers. If you want to be, professional using Photoshop, or professional designers, layers is very, very important for you to understand. Now let's do this again. Go to background, duplicate one more time. Oh, let's say layer 2. All right. And then we have layer 1 and layer 2. Just let me take this one up. The way that we actually move layers around is just click and hold, and then when you see the blue line, you just leave it. Okay, once you leave it, the color is repositioned. Okay, now we have three layers. Okay, now let's apply a different uh, effect. Let's go with auto contrast. All right. Now I have three options. Okay, let's hide these two and stick with the background. Now this is how the background looks like. If I click into layer 1, I get the auto tone. All right, hide it again and then go to layer 2, I get the auto construct. All right, now let's do it another time. Duplicate. Okay. Oh, sorry, I need to rename. Duplicate layer 3. It's very important to actually rename your layers if you are dealing with a huge project like a poster or brochure. You need to name your layers precisely so that you won't get lost. All right, now this is layer 3. I want to reposition it here, and then let's apply something different, which is auto color. Okay, now these colors I can actually change, right? Okay, now these colors I can change I have a lot of options. One of the option is just go to this one. You can see normal here. Just double click and then you can select whatever effect that you might actually like. Okay. Darken, lighten, screen. Okay, let's go with the screen. Now I have 4 different layers. Okay. Each one is actually different from the background. This is the background. This is the standard image. Okay. Let's say you took a photo from using your phone and then the colors is not that good. You can actually change the colors using Adobe Photoshop. Okay. And this is only with the automatic effects. You can get a lot of different options here. Let's duplicate layer 5, right? And then click OK. If I go to image adjustment, I can get a lot of manual effects. Let's take one, for example, black and white. Okay. And from here, you can see this is a black and white image now. And not only that, but I can actually play with the depth of the colors also. Okay. Another example is, let's go to image adjustment. Let's go, let's say I want to change the levels of the colors. Now, when I click levels, I can see that I get 3 inputs here, which is the dark one, the light, and the one in the middle. If I go in the dark one and I start to change the value here, you can see I get into more darker image. But if I go into the white corner and change the value, I will get it more bright. Okay. This is a perfect solution if you took an image during the sun and your image is very dark. You can simply give it a little bit of light and your image is actually it will look amazing. Okay. Now let's change it a little bit so that it looks different from the others, right? And hit OK. Now this is the difference between this one and the background, right? And this is layer 3, and this is layer 2, and this is layer 1. Okay. If I open all images, now all of them are in show, they are not hidden, but I only can see layer 5. Why? Because it's on the top of all these layers. If I hide layer number 5, I can only see layer number 3. If I hide layer number 3, I can see layer number 2, and etc. etc. Okay, so it's always about the layer on the top. All right. I really hope that layers concept is clear to you guys. Do you have any questions so far? All good?
No question, Doctor.
All right. Now, this is the first, let's say, feature I really want you to understand, which is dealing with layers. Now, if you want to save this file, okay, we have a lot of options. Option number 1 is go to File, Save, and then you are going to get this window, right? Now, if you can see here, the format, can see the format? It says Photoshop, right? Now, if I click Photoshop and save it, okay, and close this window, all right, you are going to notice that from recent files, we have 2 files, right? Number 1 is PSD, and number 2 is JPG. Anyone can tell me the difference between these two, and you will get 1 mark.
JPG is image.
Is image, all right. The other one, PSD.
Doctor, is it that PSD is a format that you can use it to edit again and again, and JPG is the final, like you cannot edit the other layers or something like that?
Exactly, Kimberly, brilliant. So if I click here, JPG, I can see only one layer, which is background, which is the original photo. I cannot edit, I cannot do anything. The PSD file, however, if I click, I can see all the layers are saved and I can edit, do whatever I want. Again, everything that I did in my previous file is saved. Why? Because it is Adobe Photoshop file. So that's why it's very important to understand the meaning of the format as well. Okay. So PSD file is the Adobe Photoshop file where I can get the information that I can actually edit. Kiroshini and Kimberly, both of you get 1 mark. But please remind me after the class. Okay. Now, this is the first activity I want you to do when you get your Adobe Photoshop installed into your device, or you can even go to your the computer lab. You can actually start to practice Adobe Photoshop. Okay, that's number one that we want to learn today. Let's close this and go one more time to open, right? And let's say I want to learn how to actually add more than one photo in one design. Okay. Now, when you click open, you have the option to actually select one file, or you can select multiple files as well. How to do that is simply select shift and then click. All right. And we have 4 files to go. And if I click open, all right, what will happen is we do have, this is number 1 file. You can see if I click here, this is the first photo. If I click here, this is the second, here, third, and then the fourth photo, right? What I want to do is I want to merge all these photo in one design only, right? How to do that? It's very simple. Let's say this one, I want to use it as a background, all right? The background of the whole design, okay? And the second one, I just want to drag it into the first image. How to do that is go into Move tool here, click into it and hold and go back to the main file and then release it, right? You will notice here we have layer 1 and this is the background. If I hide layer 1 and then this is the background, the original photo that I have added. Okay. Now, if I click into layer 1, then I can only move the data, the information, the image that is in layer 1. I cannot actually reposition or move the background. Number one, because it's locked. And number two, because I am not selecting this layer so far. I'm selecting only this layer, right? Okay, let's go to the second one. Just select, hold, go to this one and release it. I can see I have a different layer here, right? What I want to do is just move it. And one of the most brilliant feature that Photoshop gives you is when you move around objects, they were actually Photoshop automatically will align everything together. Okay, just can choose the perfect fit and then just release it. Okay, now we have two. The good thing about these two is the size is what I want. Now, the third image, as you can notice, the size is different. Now, if I select and hold, go to the background and release it, I can see that the image size is a bit different, okay? Where I am actually lost. I cannot see the three other layers. Now, I can actually rescale any images in Adobe Photoshop. How to do that? Go to edit, or you can actually go to uh, uh, image size. That's one option. You can actually resize it, or you can simply go to Command E, right? When you go to Command E from, if you are using Mac, or you can go to Control E into your device, it will get you to something called scale. Okay, it will get you to something called scale. What you can actually do with scale is to, uh, let's say, resize the file of any layer. Okay, now let's say, oh, okay, that's the layer that I want. And if I move it around, I can see it's actually a bit big. If you go to the zoom tool here, okay, zoom tool, you have two options, right? Whether it's zoom in or zoom out. If I click zoom out, I can see the whole design from a wider perspective, okay? Now, if I go to the move tool, I can move it around, all right? Why I zoom out? Because I need to actually see the whole perspective so that I can, or I get the ability to move it around. Now, I have a lot of options to actually deal with the rescaling of the image, right? I go to edit, I go to transform, and then select scale. What I notice is once I click scale, I will get these points, okay? In every point, when I actually select the corner here, I get a different, let's say, arrows, okay? Where I can simply click and drag, okay? If I do this, I can rescale the image. Or if I don't want the image to be scaled regularly from all sides, I can click shift and then select to scale from one side or the other side. This is only happening because I am actually clicking on shift in my keyboard. All right. So let's go back. I just want to click it and scale it to actually be the same size as the previous photo. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Zoom in. All right, and click to move. It's a bit different, so I go to transform, scale, and then I can change it from here. I can see that the wide is not the same, so I click shift, and then here we go. We have the perfect fit. Now I can click zoom out, right? I can just move it from the move tool, or I can just select V in my keyboard, okay? Now we have these three images. If I select these three layers, I go to layer number 3, shift, layer number 1, and then I am able to move all the layers one more time. Okay, guys, clear? Any questions so far? Good. You want me to do it again? How to scale, rescale? Okay, good. Now, now this is the PSD file with the layers. If I go to File, Save, Adobe Photoshop, and then Save. And this is actually for format options. It will get you to know that the size of the files might be slightly different. Some extra, size will be added and so on. It's not something important. I click don't show again and then okay, right? So I already saved it. So if I close all these files one more time, and then I can see here it's a PSD file. If I click it, I have all my layers. I can just go back anytime and change everything one more time. Okay, now let's take another example and then open. So far we have dealt with layers, we have dealt with images, how to drag images, how to rescale, and so on. Okay. Now let's say I want just extra options how to deal with colors, how to correct colors and stuff like that, right? Let's say I have this image, go to duplicate, okay, right, adjustment, for example, okay. Now, whatever I do in this layer is not going to affect the background layer in any way, okay? So I make sure before I apply any filter or any options, right? I am actually selecting this layer, not the other, the background layer, right? This is the adjustment. If I go to, let's say I want to do something like, okay, adjustment. Let's deal with something like hue saturation, okay? If I click hue saturation, this is something related to photography. If you want to correct the colors, stuff like that. The first preset is the default, which is the exact same measurement of the original photo, right? Now, what I can do is I can change the colors from the hue where I am able to change the whole hue saturation of the image. Okay, this is the custom. Then I have the ability to change some colors only. Okay, let's try to change, for example, one of these colors only, not all the colors. Okay, there's no red. Let's try with yellow. I can see if it works. If I select yellow, but this is okay, let me take another photo, then, and let me, yeah, there's photo here. Yes, this is perfect for our example, okay? We go to image adjustment and go back to hue saturation. Let's say I want to change the red color, okay? So whatever I do, it will only change the red color in this photo. It's not going to apply it into different colors. You can see the what I mean here. You can see a lot of even videos where you can only see one color is changing, or you can see only one color in a whole design, or one person, the only color is showing, for example, is yellow, and there is no such other colors, okay? And this goes to any other colors. For example, here, if I have to change yellow and change it, it considered actually the green color as yellow as well. That's why I'm able to change this. You can see this is actually a very nice tool where you can play with the colors around. Okay, good. Now we do have a lot of color options that you can do using adjustment. For example, brightness, but this is, let's say, let's apply it here. Image adjustment, brightness, and we have two options, which is brightness. You if your image is very dark, you can increase the brightness, or you can increase the contrast, where you actually get more depth of the colors for your photo, right? Let's say this is actually perfect, and then okay. If I hide this one, you can see the difference between these two. This one is actually, the green is more realistic, okay? Okay. Now, let's say I want to save this image not as a PSD file. I actually want to save it as a GPG because I want to open it using my smartphone, right? For example, what I can do, I will actually do the same, but instead of save as, or save as a copy, and then from here, the format, I can notice that I can choose a lot of formats, okay? The first one is Photoshop, which is PSD, right? You can see this is layers, it is activated, or you can choose JPG or PNG, right? JPG, and then save, and then you are going to choose where to actually save it. Now, if I open it, if I close this, okay, close this one as well. And then if I go to recent here, click, you can see this is actually an image, not a PSD file. Okay? Clear, guys? Because I save it as an image, not a PSD file. All right, good. So now we dealt with layers, we dealt with colors, how to scale, and how to merge more than one photo. Let's do something else, which is to, let's say, go to image, or maybe let's do something different from the others. Go to actually image rotation. Then, for example, if I rotate this, if I choose this option, or I can rotate like 180 degrees, okay? I can rotate it, rotate any images vertically or the other way around. I can see that this is actually a landscape size now, right? What I want to do is I want to add, for example, some texts, okay? Or we can actually go on to open a different file. Let's say desktop. File. No. Just a second. Okay, it's inside. Okay, let's go back to Photoshop, open, and go to the end, education. Okay, maybe this one. Okay. Now I have this one. Let's say I want to create or do an advertisement. I want to actually maybe create something as a workshop or something to advertise, anything I want, okay? This is the image. And from here, you can get the text. We have a lot of options. If you select and hold, you can see we have horizontal type tool, vertical type mask tool, and all these kind of different. Let's go with the standard, which is horizontal type tool. Okay. Now, if you want to type into Adobe Photoshop, we have two options. Option number one is just click, all right, and start to type. Okay. Right. Let's just change the color. And then when you start typing, you will notice that you get a bunch of tools here is only to edit and modify your text. You can get it here, or you just can click here and you can get the character. This is advanced extra tools to change the properties of or the character of the font. Okay. You want to change the font. You want to change the size. All right. You want to change the way that actually the presentation of the text. Okay, you can select different types, bold, all caps. Okay, this is to actually click different options, and obviously the color. Okay, when you click color, this is the color picker here. You can go to different colors if you select here. All right, or you can just simply pick any color you would like. Right, black, white, whatever. Okay, let's say I want to go with black, and then I hit OK. Right? We'll say 18 April. Right? If I click the move tool, I can change the position of it. Okay. Now, if I want to edit this text, I just go to double click, and then it's editable. I can read again, rewrite whatever I want to do. But if I want to change some of the features for the font, I'm not able to. So this is where we can use option 2 when we deal with texts, which is instead of just clicking text and clicking into our design, we can create a box. All right. Now, when we create a box, we can, or we are able actually to deal with a lot of options regarding the formatting of the font. For example, I want this one to left align text, okay? And the size, for example, is 12, okay? I want to add a little bit of, aligning between these lines, okay? I can do it vertically or, okay, let me get, right. Now, this option is only happening because I have added the text inside a box, all right? Now, let's go to this layer again, and then double click, and then I go to try to add other characters, and then I double click, and then I go to, for example, I want to make it like in the middle. You can see the position of the font is different. Unlike when I go here, click, and then it's just like dealing with a paragraph as a whole, okay? The first option is going to get you to write only one line. Okay. Now, this one, let's say, save the date. I'm gonna delete here. And then I'm gonna create another text. Okay. Let's say online workshop, right? If I double click, I can change the font, something like that. Okay. Or maybe I can also change the color, something like yellow. Right. And then see the date. Maybe I can take it to align with it a little bit. And then the third paragraph is going to be here. Now this text, if I click here, this is the end of the box. If I want to extend the text to be aligned with the headline, I can do that. And then I change the options here, the paragraph, I make it align with the text as well. Okay. Now, if you can see, the fonts are not really clear because there are so much colors in the background. What I can do, I go here at the background, I click a new layer. Okay, this is an empty layer. There is nothing into it, nothing. Okay, if I hide, there's nothing to hide. All right. Why I created this? Because I want to create something to make the font more clearer. What I can do is I go to this tool, rectangle tool, okay? When I click any tool from here, guys, this is very important. The option for this tool is going to be showing at the just below the main bar, okay? So these options are for the rectangle. If let's say I want to select this magical tool. You can see this is the magical tool. This is the features regarding this tool. So what I do now is I want to create a rectangle. But before I create this rectangle, I want to change a little bit about this feature. I want to color the fill of the color for the rectangle to be white, right? I want no border, no stroke, okay? So I choose no border for this rectangle. And then I go create my rectangle, just like that, right? This is the rectangle. And the rectangle is just below all the layers. If it's in the above, I cannot see any of the texts. This is why we have dealt to understand where the layers before we create any design. It's very important to understand the layers, right? If I hide it, I can see the text again, but there is no rectangle. If I show it again, and then I take it just above the background, I can see all the texts, right? What I can do here, I might actually decrease the opacity of the rectangle to something about around maybe 62 only. What I have created is, let me just resize this rectangle a little bit here. And we are good to go. Right? And then enter. Okay. Now, what I have done is I have created another background for the font to be more clearer. Okay. If I notice the yellow color is not actually catchy for the eyes, what I can do in any of these layers, I can change more features for the font. Let's say I want to okay, let's say I want to change some of the features to make it more clear. What I can do, right click and then blending options. We have a lot of options here. that can actually show us what's going on with the layers, but I need to move the so that I can see what's going on. Okay. The number one, which is very important, very nice feature or effect that I can add is something called drop shadow. If I click, you can see the difference. Okay. The text now is clear somehow, but I make it more clearer by changing some of the features for this shadow. I don't want the shadow to be down. I want it to be all around the text. So the distance is going to be, for example, 0. If I click the distance to 0, the size a little bit wider, okay? And then what I can do more is add a stroke. Click, and then change a color, for example, black, okay? And now the text is very, very clear to read. I can actually resize the outline of the stroke as well. But I might like to actually choose it only 5 or maybe 4. Okay, there is a bunch of tools or styles of the font that I can actually add. For example, bevel is going to be more like a 3D. Color overlay, I can change the color. Gradient, I can add a gradient color for it. Okay, a lot of options I can do. But for now, I guess it can do. Maybe I can actually increase the opacity a little bit, so the color is going to be more clearer to actually read. All right. Any questions so far, guys? Everything clear? Okay. One more thing to do in this class is let's create our own actually design from the scratch using all the features that we have discussed. Okay, so let me open, let me close all the open files. Then I don't want to save it. Don't save. Open, because I don't want to, I want to new file, then maybe custom, and then create. Okay, this is the space that we are going to work on. All right. Number one is I might, okay, this is the file. I want to add some images, okay? But I want to add these images in frames, okay? So let's go one more time to this rectangle tool. As I mentioned here, guys, you can see all the tools. There is a very small arrow at the corner. It means that if you click and hold, there are more tools behind it. For example, here we have mole and we have artboard. If we click and hold, we have rectangle, elliptical, single, whatever, okay? Now, same goes to this rectangle tool. If I click and hold, we have rectangle, we have ellipse, triangle, polygon, line, custom, whatever. What I want to choose here is, I want to choose this ellipse tool, right? Same features. I don't want to change any of these. Maybe I can change the color to make it more clear, but I don't want a stroke for it. Okay, so okay, this is our first object here. Good. And then we might add a rectangle or triangle, right? And then create it just like that, right? So we have two shapes. All right. Now I want to use these shapes as a frame. All right. So let's go to File, Open, or you can simply click here, any of these empty space. If you double click, you can open this window where you can insert images, okay? Let's say I want to insert these two images, open, right? Now this is our project file, good. And this is the second file, and this is the third file. What I want to do, exactly like we did, hold and release, okay. But the image is obviously so big. So what I want to do is zoom out. This is just like a revision for what we have done in this class. Zoom in, sorry. Okay, move, and then go to we want to go to scale, because it's really big. I cannot see the end of it. Now I can see it, and then scale. I can start to change the size of this image, right? When I'm done scaling, I just click enter from my keyboard. All right. Now, as I mentioned, I want to use this shape as a mask or as a frame. What I need to do is I go just above the shape that I want to select as a frame, and I go just in between these two layers and click. It's option in my Mac, but it's actually Alt, I guess, in Windows. And then I click. You can see here. Oh, yeah, that's why I'm using zoom out instead of zooming in. Right. And one more option is the space from the keyboard. It actually, if you click space and then from the mouse, it's a hand, you can move around with your design. Okay. We can see here now, this is inside the shape. Okay. I can actually go to scale one more time, and then maybe scale this image again. And here we go. We have our image inside the shape, right? If I don't want this one to be inside the shape anymore, I go just click. Option, click, it's going to be inserted inside. Option, click, it's outside. All right. Now, if I want to add any other features for this shape, I do not go to layer anymore, the image. I go to the shape because it is the background of the image. So double click, blending options, and here we go. We can add shadow. We can add color overlay. We can add stroke. Change the color of the stroke, for example, red. Okay, I can change the size of it, right? Maybe outer glow. It's gonna get you some like glowing around the image and a lot of other options. Maybe I can select throw black. Now, if I move the shape, select the move tool, I move the shape. I notice that I am moving around the image. Okay, so the image is not moving. I am only moving the shape of it. So if I want to use this one, this part only, all right? Or I can actually scale, all right? Maybe something like that. And then go to the image, right? And then maybe scale it a little bit more, right? Here we go. Just like that, something like that. Okay. So we are dealing with two different, totally different layers. If I move this one, if I hide it, it's going to hide both because this one is inside this one. So this one like a master layer. If I move it, then I will move both of them. Let's do the same thing in this triangle to understand even more, right? I go to move tool, hold, I go, sorry. All right, all right. Zoom, zoom out. I make sure that I am selecting the correct layer and then I go to transform, scale. If I cannot see the edges of the image, that's because it's very, very huge. I can actually move it until I see the edge and then start to rescaling the image until I have the correct measurement. When I'm done scaling, just double click or enter from the keyboard. By clicking enter, I will add these measurement into the image, right? One more time, option, and between these two layers, you can get, you are going to get this icon, right here. Click, and it's already inside, right? So if I move this shape, let me first scale, zoom in, right? If I move the image itself, then I am moving around the shape, okay? Right? If I move the shape, then I am moving it until I get the image that I only want. If I want to resize, the shape, one more time, transform, scale, and then I am able to add extra space, right? And I am using uh, space from my control to move around with my design. Okay. One more thing that we have done today is dealing with text. We have said that we have two options, whether just select text, and this is only if you want to, sorry. See here, I cannot see the text because I have created this layer inside as a layer, all right? So I go to option, click, get it out of this shape, all right? And then put this one again inside. Okay, I go back to my text. As I said, we have two options, whether you just click on it or something like a headline, okay? All right, and then the second option that we have is to create a text box. How to do that? Click, then click and drag, okay? These are the dimensions of the text box that we have created. Then release it, and then you're gonna get the default options for the text. How to change these characters is just by clicking here and then changing the size, changing the more options, the font itself. The font is still big, so I go to no, 14 is very small, maybe 18, still small, 34, right? And then I go to right, good. Maybe I can change a little bit, and then the color, pick black, right? Okay, this is how we deal with texts. And if you want to add a paragraph, always add it in a text box, because it's very easy to change all these kind of features later on. Okay, guys, any questions so far? Any questions? All good. One more time, is Shazwan bin Shahruddin here? Shahruddin? Any Shazwan here? 4SPPS. Are you from 4PPS, guys? 4SPPS. Is it your program? Oh, SHPL. All right, all right. Okay. Okay, guys, what I want you to do as a starter, I want you to create a file, okay? Just like the one here. Add a shape, insert this image inside the shape, and add a text, a headline, and a text box, and save it as a PSD file. This is the activity of this week. Okay, this is only a start up using Photoshop. Next class, next week, we are going to deal with more extra advanced information. I'm going to share with you some of the most important websites that I use personally as a graphic designer, where I can get tons and tons of free templates that you can simply use. Just change the texts, the images, and you are good to go, right? So that's all for today. I really hope that you have learned something and enjoy the class. I'm going to share the recording later on. And please don't forget to scan the attendance. Thank you very much for attending, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Very much, guys. I hope
Thank
you
you,
enjoyed the
Doctor.
class.
Doctor, will you share the recording later on?
Yes, yes, of course. I'm going to
Okay,
share the recording once it's ready. Maybe 13 minutes or so. I will share it.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
All
Thank you,
right.
Doctor.
Doctor, are you going to share a link for us to download the Adobe Photoshop?
Okay, let me try. Let me try. Because actually, as a student from UTM, let me share my screen again, if that's okay. Okay. Okay, close this. Save. Go. Only 25 scanned. Okay. Okay. Let me go to Adobe. You can see here, you can actually use free trial for the purpose of this course. And when you sign in, right? Individual. Okay, let me try. Continue. Oh, okay, change. I want to try if I click, if I use my UTM email, is it going to be changed or what? Because I'm using it for totally free, the whole package, all right?
Because I already
Because I'm
tried
using my,
using UTM email, but couldn't access the package.
all right. Mhm. let me ask UTM Digital, and I will get back to you guys.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Take care. See you next week.
See you.